All right, welcome back to Book Nook Brews. This is episode 30, covering chapters 20 through 36 of The Puzzle Master by Danielle Trussoni. Just before we do any recap or anything of this new section, I guess we should mention why this one is out late. We have a new member of the family in town.
In town forever.
Yeah.
Much to Grise's dismay.
Yeah. We adopted a new kitty over the weekend, and she has taken up a lot of our energy and time, to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, and she's not really out and about in the apartment yet. So we're slowly introducing her to our our existing cat Grise, the one that you've heard around in episodes previously. So introducing them has not been very easy. And so we still have the little kitten in a bathroom whenever she can't be out here supervised. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, we want her out already, but we've got to slowly introduce them for them to have the best possible experience. So it's kind of tough hearing her meow being in a room.
And her meows are weird.
Yeah.
So if you hear her meow throughout the episode, no, you didn't. But yes, you did. They're cute.
Yeah. So I guess with that, we can start with the recap for this week's set of chapters.
Alrighty. So for this week, we did it a little bit differently. Rather than doing it like chapter this, chapter that. I'm trying it out where I just kind of compile it all together, almost just like a summary, but not sectioned out per se. So if it's weird, my bad, but this is what we're going with. Alrighty. So the status chapter starts with Bill telling Jess to keep an eye out for a woman named Mandy. However, he doesn't really think that she'll make an appearance since she has a restraining order. When Aurora died, she left Mandy as her sole beneficiary, but since Aurora's signature didn't have a witness in her will, it was voided by the courts when Jameson Sledge filed a lawsuit, which Jameson Sledge is Aurora's nephew. During her first few nights, Jessica would hear noises above the room she stayed in. At first, she thought they were mice until she heard a voice, but chalked it up to the bourbon she drank that night. Then one day, she grabbed the key to the attic and found an odd doll called Violaine. Days later, a woman named Anne-Marie Ricard came to take inventory of the dolls. From this, Jessica learned that Gaston Lamoriette was a famous French doll maker who made the doll Violaine, named and created after his daughter Violaine, who died tragically at 15. Jessica looked for the doll after Anne-Marie left, but couldn't find Violaine. That night, she drank some bourbon and called up her ex, Noah. Then, in the middle of the night, she woke up and got up from her bed, but she fell to her knees and felt paralyzed. She looked around, and as the curtains moved away, there stood Violaine. The next day, Mandy showed up and explained to Jessica that Aurora entrusted her to keep the relic protected from Jameson, her nephew. Mandy gives Jess a portfolio Aurora hid from Jameson, which was a letter from Gaston Lamoriette. After Mike Brink finished reading her journal entry, he looked at Noah's autopsy photos and noticed that his body was covered in the same pattern of cuts Jess had in her arms. Mike decided to reach out to Anne-Marie, hoping to get more answers from her. He sends an email to her and receives a reply to come see her at the office that afternoon. Mike receives a call from Dr. Gupta, a professor from his university who taught him the importance of anonymity. My gosh, that's a tough word. She saw that Mike had been searching up information about Jameson Sledge and the events of the alleged murder. Dr. Gupta told him he would help him find more information, but to be careful and to go meet with Anne Marie. Mike went to Anne Marie's office, but ended up going to her house by the forest. Mike was forced to leave Connie, his dog, in the car, leaving the windows down a bit and the truck door locked. Anne Marie explained to Mike that she had been searching for Violaine and some documents that were with her in Lamoriette's shop that were lost after the store had been bought. Those documents were letters Gaston Lamoriette wrote to his son Charles. The importance of that letter was that it was never to be read by anyone except his son Charles and could contain information of what happened to Lamoriette in Prague. Mike read the page Anne Marie had given him, a piece of what Lamoriette had wrote in another letter. Lamoriette had discovered something he wasn't supposed to. Something between humans and the divine. That is nature of the puzzle, to offer pain and pleasure by turns. As Mike asked what discovery he could be talking about, Jameson Sledge came in and said, "Perhaps the greatest discovery ever made." Anne Marie stood up to kiss Jameson. Mike was about to leave, but they insisted for him to stay and to talk to Jameson. Jameson explained that he explores consciousness and its characteristics during our lifetime and beyond. After he read some of Lamoriette's letters, he believes understanding the human consciousness and protecting it were vital. He also believed that his hunt hid an antiquity from him that could have the power to change the future. Anne Marie and Jameson Sledge both believed that within Lamoriette's letter contained a reference to a text that holds sacred knowledge of ancient origins, a kind of puzzle known as the Puzzle God. Jameson has a strong belief that Jess has the puzzle and that Mike has seen it, ergo they need him to crack the code. Jameson revealed that he worked with Wraith, but after a while he stopped giving him updates about Jess. Mike showed them the pictures of Frankie Sledge and Noah Cook's body from their death and how strikingly similar their injuries were. They asked Mike for his help in solving this puzzle, but Mike denied him. And so Jameson then takes out a pistol and asks for his help again. He reluctantly agrees and excuses himself to go to the bathroom. He turned his phone on and found a voice message from Dr. Tesley explained to him that she's scared that something may happen to her and sends someone following her. She believed that if she went home, she would not return, and that someone needed to protect Jess. Mike escaped the bathroom from a small window and headed towards his truck. That's where he noticed that his dog Connie was no longer there, and then he tried to start his car, but it wouldn't turn on. Afterwards, he receives a text from Tesley explaining to him that he would receive an audio message from her email in an hour. He ended up moving his car down the hill the house was at by releasing the emergency brake, and then he ran to a nearby diner. He grabbed a coffee and began to read the letters that were left in Jessica's journal. And that's how this set of chapters end. With a couple little extra bits, but we can talk about that later.
This book already took me out.
Yeah.
I am over the story. I'm over the book. First off, the whole concept of the doll doesn't even scare me. Like, it's not like a, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this shit because I don't like dolls. Like, no. Like, it just seems like a recycled Annabelle. It's like just... it's just another one of those corny doll stories. And then the whole side of... what's his name? Jameson or Jefferson?
Jameson.
Jameson.
Sledge.
Jameson looking for immortality, and that's the whole point of this, the puzzle of God, so he can basically become God and control the immortality and then change the future, apparently. And
It sounds like some rich guy who has nothing better to do than
it's
to
literally the leader of
look
a
for
cult.
immortality. Yeah, no, it really does seem like that. I also felt the same way when I was reading this set of chapters. I kind of started to check out like halfway through these chapters, and it's just it's a lot, and it's kind of corny. As soon as I saw the puzzle god thing and like religious text, because I had put this in my recap, but I figured I'd mention this later, was that Aurora or Jessica had found a Bible that was marked up and had highlighted passages. She had found a Bible with highlighted passages and was notated by who we would assume is Aurora.
Yeah.
But it's just a mess, I guess. We have some things about like the Bible that is referenced, and then also a puzzle that could potentially lead them to, I guess, like what happens in the afterlife or immortality, because I'm assuming what they're trying to get at is that Violaine is possessed by, like the Violaine doll is possessed by Violaine herself, which I don't understand how, if she tragically died and this doll was made afterwards. I don't know.
I think it has to do with the other part that I had an issue with, the alchemy and all that crap that they added into. Because they were explaining that the porcelain was used and looked out for by alchemists and chemists and all that kind of stuff. They brought up the Philosopher's Stone and all that crap too, and it's like
Full Metal.
yeah, basically. So some people were looking for Philosopher's Stone while the other type of people were looking for I forgot what they called it, but basically their porcelain was like the thing to look for because it could turn, I forgot what it was, lead into something or something like that. I don't know. But then I'm assuming they're going to tie that with, the doll was made out of porcelain, which then they probably used alchemy to put like the soul of his daughter into the doll. And that went the wrong way because obviously, when you mess with alchemy or whatever, that's usually where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I don't know. I just have a problem with them fitting all of these different types of things into this. Like, first, it didn't seem like it was going to be about a doll, and now it's all about a doll. Now we're also getting... they're like implying that the doll may be possessed, maybe not. And it's like, dude, yeah, it straight up is. I don't know why you're going around it. Then we're getting alchemy involved. Then we're getting how porcelain was this like rare thing they were looking for. Then that there's the puzzle of God, and then the immortality and all that kind of stuff. I just don't like as soon as I saw the divine, I'm like, okay, well, this book just went south. Like, yeah.
No, I thought the same too, and I agree. As soon as I saw divine, I was like, oh, I see what you meant by last week when you said that you didn't want this to get into like religious. I was like, I don't really think it will. And then it hit that again. I was like, yeah. And now we're getting into a doll who, well, now this leaves me to like question like who, because I know you said that Jess is possessed by someone. Is this Violaine? But then, like, I guess how? It doesn't make any sense, especially with Frankie Sludge and Noah Cook both having the same bodily injuries from like when
There's
they
something
died.
in that portfolio, I think, that Jess may have read. And like she might have read it out loud or whatever. Like knowing how like these corny stories go, she probably read something from that out loud or whatever, which put out a curse or whatever it may be. Which then like maybe Noah and Frankie both also ended up reading or whatever, but it had a different effect on them because maybe it was just going to like it was just being attached to Jess.
Yeah.
And so whenever somebody else tried to do it, it just ended up killing them, and that's why they both ended up in the same spot, in the same room, and with the same like death, and with the room, you know, obviously being the doll room. So I think it might be, well, I call her Violaine.
Violin? I said
Violaine.
Oh, I thought it was Violaine.
Because it's spelled like violin or like violet. So I was like Violaine.
Violaine.
But regardless, it's I don't know why this has so much to do with, I don't know. There's just so many questions. I just got lost. I stopped bothering trying to answer them myself.
Yeah, and I don't really understand Mike too. Like he knows that this is getting a little dangerous, and yet he wants to go to Anne Marie for like questions, like to ask her questions. Like I don't know why he thought that would be like the best go to. Like I get it. She was right there and near them all, but at the same time, I don't know if just directly just going to this meeting unannounced was like the best idea. And then going back to her house. Sure, she's like, it needs to be very private in a secluded area, no cell phones turned on and stuff like this. But I didn't really understand his reasoning.
Well, one, because his type of character is going to solve the puzzle no matter what, right? And the easiest thing is probably going to be overlooked by him to try and just solve the puzzle.
Very reckless.
And then two, the reason he went to her was because he didn't think she was associated that much to Jameson.
Yeah.
Like associated, yeah, connected, yeah, enough to be like, okay, yeah, she probably has answers, but didn't assume that they like were together or whatever, right? She was one of the two like suspects, but obviously it was more so on Jameson's side where all the accusations were going. So he was like, maybe she knows more about him than anyone else, and try to get his answers from that.
Yeah, I guess so. It just Mike just seems very reckless to me. Kind of doesn't really think it through. I guess the only really good thing I can give him is that he escaped their house, like from the bathroom. But
which I thought that was also whack. But
yeah, and also Cam has his dog.
Yeah.
Cam Putney has his dog, and I didn't include this in the recap because it's just a very small detail per se, but it's alluded or assumed that Cam Putney is going to kill Tessely, or has killed her.
Yeah.
Because he is essentially monitoring her emails, watching her, and he snuck into her house and was standing behind her with a pistol in his hand.
Yeah.
So it's assumed that he was going to kill her. And during all of this, he has Mike's dog Connie in his car.
Yeah.
So is a dog really necessary in the story?
Yeah. I mean, that's Mike's only source of like anti-anxiety or like his support.
No,
like
I get that. I think it's just, I guess when the dog is written in this book, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, he has a dog. Yeah, they took him. Yeah, he's leaving her in the car. I don't know. It doesn't seem very seamless with the story at times for me.
Yeah.
Personally.
I think it seemed fitting, like for me at least, because it was like the one thing he's actually connected to, and they know that, so they like take it to have something over him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so far this book is not it. It's just not doing it.
Yeah, it's not really pulling me. Like, I feel like if I had not been reading this for the book club,
It's a DNF.
I think it would be a DNF, or if I was really that curious, I think I would skim the pages just so I can at least find out what is going to happen, just so I can have that closure. But I don't really feel too attached to the book to actually fully read it.
Yeah.
It's just...
I think the moment I read that the doll was holding the curtain, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, this is stupid. But I kept reading whatever, and then as soon as it got into the whole divine and what would you do for immortality, and I would have shut the book there and just not read it again. But I guess we have to.
Yeah, oh man, this easily I think would have been a DNF.
Yeah.
It's really hard getting through it. Like it's a relatively easy read.
Yeah.
It's just the matter within the book, the storyline isn't really getting me. And it's kind of unfortunate because I really thought it would be really interesting with the puzzle. But then we're getting into like a religious cult, immortality, and the characters are just not bringing this story to life for me personally.
Yeah.
I really don't like Jameson. He's just an annoying rich dude who has nothing better to do in his life than to just figure out how to live longer with his expensive amount of wealth or whatever.
And that's always funny to me. It's always the same thing in those kinds of stories. It's always someone wasting their life trying to chase immortality when they could just be living that life.
Yeah.
They're wasting that time to get more time, and then when you have that more time, now what? Because you spent your whole time looking for that. That seems so stupid to me. And it's just a bad story, at least for me. Like, because I've seen it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in other things. Like, even in cartoons and stuff, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's like, this is a bad... I don't know why I say cartoon, but, like, I feel like I've seen it in an animated format before or something. But it's a story I've heard multiple times, and it's just the same thing every time. It's just like, why even chase that? But...
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is the exception and will always be the exception.
Was that about immortality?
Bruh.
I already forgot.
So what you're saying is you want to watch it again?
What I'm saying is I need you to explain that to me.
So we're watching it again? Yeah, essentially the big bad guy. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But essentially, the bad guy is searching for immortality. He is pretty much a speck of what you could call that comes from the unknown per se, was put in the world, and his whole entire goal was to just reach immortality, and he did that through lives essentially.
Wasn't he trying to play God?
Yeah, immortality.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, I guess I took it another way.
But they did say it's like, oh, you're trying to play God by, like, in a way, yes. He's trying to play God to do his own thing, to be someone big when he came from nothing.
Yeah.
And he wanted to... And in order to do that, he has to be immortal. And granted, a philosopher's stone, after many years, it's eventually going to die down.
Yeah.
Because it feeds off souls. That's what it is. So the way he did it was to create a bigger philosopher's stone. And get, like, what was it, the sun or the moon, like, come to me,
Yeah.
let's become one. And then showed off his power. It's like, yeah, I am God. I am the big guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Of that sort. But anyways, this, I don't know what Jameson's so just thinking about. Like, he says like, oh yeah, I have a company. And that's the thing too. Like, he's very skeptical, I guess, of the way of just other people knowing about him and what he's trying to do. He's very private.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, but they said he had like multiple companies now, like just to try and hide what he's actually trying to do.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Like a securities company, and then
Communications thing too.
and then he works with like philosophers and scientists to understand the human body and souls and how it attaches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It seems like a lot of things just mashed up together, and I'm not sure if this is ever it's going to be executed well.
I don't think so. I think it only goes even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I missed the whole part where he ran to the coffee shop. Because I was reading, I guess I got lost. That was one of the points where I got lost. Because I read that he was going to take the emergency brake off and roll down the hill, but then it started getting into, what what's his name? Cam, whatever.
Cam Putney.
And then, so the last thing I remember is that he's rolling down the hill, and he didn't want to turn the truck on because it was going to make noise. But that's if he could, but he couldn't because he had no battery. And all of a sudden, we're at a coffee shop, and it said he put the truck around the corner or whatever to try and hide it. And yeah, yeah. And I was like, how was he able to maneuver? I guess in reverse through the streets and try to put it in the back of I don't know where he put it, but he did purposely hide his truck to be able to go to that cafe.
Bruh.
So I was like, how? But then, I was so like bored of the book that I didn't bother going back and seeing how that went. So I don't know what went down there, but that part also was just stupid to me. And then the mentioning of the type of gun that they were using, like they named like 2 or 3 guns, and that just seemed stupid. It's like, yeah, look at this Wilhelm 42 whatever, and then who was it that I don't know had a Glock 49?
Jameson, I think.
Jameson.
Either Jameson or Cam Putney.
It was Cam, because Jameson had his dad's Winham or Wideham or whatever it was, that W one.
I'm assuming she mentioned this, like the author mentioned this to show that they're like dangerous or they're a bad guy.
All you gotta say is they got a gun, like a pistol, and you don't gotta go into detail as to what pistol. I don't know. That took me out. Just seeing the word Glock in the book was like, okay, all right, whatever. Like, yeah, that's the name of the gun, but it's like, they're all pistols, bro. They're all pistols.
Yeah, like I don't mind the description of the gun depending on the kind of story it is. I don't feel like it's so necessary to get into the details so much per se in this one, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
In other ones, I get it. This one, just not so much.
You know what pissed me off too? Now, while we're still on the topic of the guns, that whole I don't see how me helping you is in the best interest of Jess. He takes out the gun. What about now? And it's like,
yeah.
I was like, oh my god,
literally.
bro. Are you fucking serious?
I was like, okay, let's start thinking about all the books and movies we've ever seen this play out.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's
What
kind of
about
corny.
now? Well, I don't know.
And it's things like that to just make it so corny. And then he is also in a relationship with Anne Marie, and they go into like some details of their relationship that I don't really care for. Like, oh yeah, she learned to fly, man, and all these other things. I'm like,
Yeah, that seemed pointless. The
Yeah, I was
helicopter
like,
part. I was like,
why?
are we
Yeah.
gonna ride the helicopter? And then is that why that's important? But no, we
I mean, I
never-
guess we'll find out if the helicopter makes a
Yeah.
comeback.
I mean, if it makes a comeback after this, I see it as pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why'd you
Also,
write that? Yeah.
just so obviously Cam broke into the car to get Connie out to use that as like some sort of collateral per se.
Yeah.
But you're telling me he left his bag in there with just his journal? Like, if you're gonna steal things from there, wouldn't you think to maybe look into his bag, see what he has in there?
Well, they already know of the journal.
But do they know like the whole letter? They don't know the whole letter. That's why they're also looking for him. Aside from to decode like the puzzle, I think there's more to the letter that they haven't read. Because they had mentioned, it's like, yeah, we were looking in the pantry where the portfolio was at and it wasn't there. The doll isn't even there.
Yeah.
Or I think they might have the doll actually. But
I don't know. See, that's another thing that confused me because they said, or Mike was telling him that they don't even know of the documents that the other psychiatrist didn't share with everyone, right? Because it was in the cabinet. But then they say that they knew about the journal because Cam saw him reading it in the prison, right? So they knew where he found it, but yet they didn't know that the psychiatrist hid other things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, like you said, if the bag was in there with the journal, why not try to get it? But then also, why waste this whole time with Mike when you could have just gotten the journal from the beginning?
Because
saying,
he
"Hey,
had
explain
Cam
this."
at the fucking prison, dude.
Yeah.
He was he was a bodyguard.
Yeah.
You're telling me he did not think of just stealing the journal? Like, you guys are already breaking laws. Why not just take the fucking journal and other things that were in there?
Yeah.
Because you have access to it. You can. So just do it.
I think maybe they didn't know about it until he saw him reading it. But then at that point, wouldn't you be interested as to where he got it from and start looking in the fucking prison?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
But also then just Mike going to the diner and just reading it there. I mean, I guess he has nowhere to go, but he knows that they might find him there.
I mean, first off, reading it at the diner. Second, reading the journal right then and there in the prison. Third, turning on the phone again in the bathroom of the house you're trying to escape. That was stupid to me.
Mm-hmm. Plus, this is post-COVID, so it is in 2020, let's say 2022, 2024, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is current, meaning he could grab his phone and call an Uber and get the fuck out. Granted, though, maybe they could track him.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's like...
And that Uber had... Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a mess. I don't look forward to reading the rest of it, but obviously we have to. This is one of those ones where I'm going to say we're reading it so you don't have to.
Yeah, if this is really up your alley, go for it.
Like, I have this same feeling I had with the first book we read, Sanctuary of the Shadow. I don't want to keep reading anymore, but since we have it as the podcast book, we have to.
Yeah, so this will be fun.
Yeah, that's a word.
How many more other interesting things are we going to find out? Will Mike become the puzzle god? Oh, no. If this is where it's headed to, I don't want to go. He's going to become the puzzle god, and Jess will become the puzzle goddess. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's going to be stupid. It's going to be something like that. I don't know how they...
Mike,
I don't
knows
know
how
how
to solve
Jess would get
puzzles
rescued.
with numbers, and Jess will solve it with letters, words, whatever. Because
Yeah.
he's a writer. You're welcome.
And then I don't know how he solves the puzzle if he's saying it's incomplete. I don't know what the missing part of it is going to be or whatever. It's going to end up being like, I don't know, the name Violine spelled out or
Stop, because that might just be it. Yeah. No.
Something like that.
Oh, boy.
I'm also going to go out and say right now that I forgot his name already, but it doesn't really matter. The guy that created the doll, the one that like died by suicide on Christmas Day in like 19 whatever.
Gaston, the doll maker, the father of Violaine.
I'm assuming that wasn't actual suicide. I'm assuming he probably got the possess or something went on with the alchemy that he did or whatever that ended up killing him. But obviously at that time there was probably no investigation or whatever. And it just ended up being marked as a suicide.
This is just going to be...
the letter is going to explain it all, but it's going to be so stupid. So.
Yeah, I guess I have nothing else to say except I'm just going to have to wait until the next set of chapters to understand what the heck is going to go on with this story.
Yeah. And the ones that we have left are 37 through 54 and 55 through 67. So about 30 chapters left. Probably not more than like 150 pages.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
But
we're
at the same
over.
time, it is a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's not a lot of pages, but it's a lot of crap we have to go through.
Yeah, it's a lot of storyline that I'm just not particularly keen on. I'm sorry, Danielle Trussoni. This is just not my cup of tea. To someone else it is. To me, it's not my favorite. I'm sorry.
The good thing is it's not a debut novel, so...
No, but she seems to write of this sort of nature.
Oh, well, that's a lost cause.
For our taste, yes.
Yeah.
I did want to say this is pretty much going to be the end of the episode. I forgot to say this last week, but I'll say it this week. Please go follow our social media. For the most part, we are mainly posting on Instagram. Our tag is the Book Nook Brews. And yes, I did update the book of the month.
Yeah.
It is The Puzzle Master. It says it on the bio, so nobody yell at me. But it is updated. That is the social media we are most active on. At least we post whenever a new episode is going up, and we did post on there that we were going to be late this week due to little Sylvie.
There's a picture of her on there as well if you want to go look at her.
Yeah, she's very cute. So go see our little girl. She's an orange cat and full of chaos. But on there, I also do have a little link tree if you want to look at other social medias that we're at, or even just anything in general, I guess. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for this week.
Yeah. I can't wait till it wraps up for the book.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you next week for episode 31. Chapters 37 through 54, if I remember correctly.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because then the last one's 55 through 67. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
See you.